The cafe smelled like rain and regret that morning. Outside, the storm clouds lingered, as if they too were unsure whether to leave or stay. Inside, at a corner table near the window, Emily Carter waited with trembling fingers wrapped around a lukewarm cup of coffee. She had rehearsed her smile 100 times, whispered lines of courage to herself, and told her heart to calm down. It wasn't a date, she reminded herself. It was just a meeting. But her heart didn't listen. Her heart was still bruised from years of loneliness, still tender from nights spent convincing herself that good men still existed. And now, here she was, sitting alone, waiting for a man who had already decided she wasn't enough. Before he even sat down, he had said it. The words that would slice through her like invisible glass. "You're not really my type." He hadn't even looked her in the eyes when he said it. Just a careless shrug, a polite smile that didn't reach his gaze, and a quick glance at his phone. To him, it was a harmless truth. To her, it was a reminder of every moment she had ever felt invisible. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and that people deserve to be seen for who they really are, take a second right now, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's spread stories that remind the world what real hearts look like. She had met him online. His name was Ryan Mitchell, a 32-year-old architect from Denver with a sharp jawline and a cleaner soul, or so she thought. Their messages had been warm, full of shared humor and easy conversation. He had asked about her photography, her volunteer work at the Children's Hospital, even her favorite kind of sunset. It had felt different this time, gentle, safe, maybe even promising. But as he stood before her in the cafe with that dismissive tone and the faint impatience in his voice, all those late-night talks suddenly felt like a cruel setup for another disappointment. Emily forced a smile, the kind that hides cracks instead of joy. "That's okay," she said softly, her voice trembling. "You don't have to stay." But Ryan hesitated. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe something about the quiet sincerity in her eyes made him sit down anyway. "I'm already here," he said almost awkwardly, pulling out the chair. "Might as well have the coffee." What followed wasn't a conversation. It was a fragile exchange between two strangers pretending not to be hurt by the moment. She tried to ask him about his work, his interests, his dreams, but his answers were clipped, polite, detached. When the coffee arrived, he barely looked up from his cup, and when it ended, he left with a small, apologetic smile and words she'd heard too many times before. "You seem nice, Emily. I hope you find what you're looking for." She watched him leave, feeling the emptiness rise like a tide. Maybe she was too soft, too plain, too much heart and not enough spark. Maybe she wasn't anyone's type. On her drive home, the rain began again, tapping against her windshield like tiny reminders of all the times she'd tried and failed. That night, she deleted the dating app and promised herself she was done trying to be enough for people who never saw her in the first place. Days turned into weeks. The world went on spinning while Emily buried herself in her photography and her quiet routines. She found comfort in small things, the laughter of children at the hospital, the golden light that spilled through her kitchen window, the way her camera captured beauty even in broken places. It wasn't joy exactly, but it was something steady, something that didn't judge her for not being someone's type. Then one afternoon, as she was setting up her camera by the riverside for a community art project, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "You take photos here often?" It was Ryan. She froze. The same Ryan who had dismissed her weeks ago stood before her now, wearing jeans splattered with mud and a genuine, uncertain smile. He explained that his firm had taken on a restoration project nearby, and he'd been visiting the site. He looked different this time. Not perfectly composed, not carefully distant, just human. She nodded politely, unsure how to respond. "I guess I do," she said finally. He hesitated, then added quietly, "Listen, about that day at the cafe, I wasn't at my best. I was dealing with a lot, and I said something thoughtless." Emily wanted to believe him, but the sting of that memory still echoed inside her. "It's okay," she said gently. "You don't owe me anything." But Ryan didn't leave. He asked if he could see her work. She almost said no, but something about his tone, earnest, almost regretful, made her pause. So she showed him a few of her photographs. Children smiling through illness, rain falling on forgotten streets, strangers caught in moments of unguarded truth. He looked at them in silence, his eyes softening. "These are incredible," he murmured. "You see people differently, don't you?" She shrugged, a small, sad smile tugging at her lips. "Maybe because I know what it feels like to be unseen." That line hung in the air like a confession neither of them expected. Over the next few weeks, their paths kept crossing, at the riverside, at the local bakery, once even at the library where Emily volunteered. Slowly, the walls between them began to crumble. Ryan started asking about her life, not out of politeness but genuine curiosity. He listened when she spoke. He remembered small details. He began to show up, not with grand gestures, but with quiet consistency. One evening, after helping her carry photography equipment back to her car, he finally said it. "You know, I think I said you weren't my type because I didn't even know what my type was." He laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'd been chasing perfection. Pictures, profiles, ideas of people. And then I met you. You didn't fit the checklist, Emily. You broke it." Her heart caught in her throat. She didn't say anything. She just watched him, waiting to see if he truly meant it. "You see the world in ways I forgot how to," he continued softly. "And I can't stop thinking about that." That night, under the soft hum of streetlights, something shifted between them. It wasn't dramatic or rushed, it was real. They began spending more time together, building something fragile but honest. Ryan learned to slow down, to listen. Emily learned to trust again. They both learned that love doesn't begin with perfection, it begins with recognition. Months passed, and their story unfolded in quiet, beautiful moments. He attended her first photography exhibition, standing in awe as strangers praised her work. She surprised him at his firm's design presentation, proudly cheering him on from the back row. Slowly, piece by piece, they became a reflection of everything they once thought they couldn't have. But life, as it often does, tested them. When Ryan's mother fell gravely ill, he retreated into himself. He stopped answering calls, stopped showing up. Emily, terrified of losing him again, left notes at his door, small reminders that he wasn't alone. One evening, weeks later, he finally called her. His voice was raw. "I didn't want you to see me like this," he said. "I didn't want to drag you into my pain." Her reply was quiet but firm. "You once said I see people differently, Ryan, but that only works if you let me see all of you, the broken parts too." That was the night he realized love wasn't about appearances or first impressions. It was about choosing someone even when they're not their best. It was about the courage to stay. When his mother passed, Emily was there, silent, steady, holding his hand through every tear. She didn't try to fix the pain. She just stayed beside it. In her eyes, he found peace again. And when spring came, with sunlight breaking through the gray of his grief, Ryan finally asked her to sit with him again, this time at the same cafe where it all began. As they sat by the window, rain drizzling softly outside, he reached across the table and took her hand. "You know," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "the first time I saw you, I thought you weren't my type. But I was wrong. You're not my type, Emily. You're my heart." Tears welled in her eyes as she smiled, the moment feeling like a quiet redemption of every heartbreak she'd ever known. Sometimes love doesn't enter your life with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with an apology, a second chance, and the simple act of seeing someone for who they truly are. So if this story touched your heart, if you believe that love deserves forgiveness and people deserve to be seen beyond first impressions, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of what really matters. Before we end, I have one special request. Comment below. Tell us if you believe in second chances, and whether you've ever experienced a moment where love surprised you after all the pain. Because maybe, just maybe, someone reading your comment will find the courage to believe again.